Today I am looking at the second part according to the playlist of Epic History's World War II documentary. If you want to watch the original video by Epic History, the link is down in the description down below. And if you enjoy my content and you want to help me out in any way, shape, or form, feel free to please like, comment, subscribe, and maybe consider becoming a member. It's only for $1 a month and you get early access to stuff. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, with that said, I just really want to get into it, guys. So without any further ado, let's do. We have got most of the world already, or the best parts of it. We only want to keep what we've got and prevent others from taking it from us. It's true. The British Empire was actually the largest empire in human history. I guess if anyone ever got close to world domination, it was the British.
1935. Adolf Hitler now wields unchecked power in Germany. His hostility to the World War I peace settlement is well known. How far he will go to tear up the existing order is yet to be seen. The year begins with a public relations triumph for Nazi Germany in the Saarland. This coal-rich German region had been under League of Nations control since the end of the war, but now votes overwhelmingly to rejoin Germany. In March, Nazi aviation chief Hermann Goering officially confirms an open secret. Germany is rebuilding its air force in defiance of the Versailles Treaty. 2 weeks later, Hitler flouts the treaty again, announcing the reintroduction of military conscription. Germany is to raise an army of 36 divisions, 500,000 strong. 3 months later, the Kriegsmarine launches a new U-boat, yet another breach of the Versailles Treaty. So far, Britain has sought fresh diplomatic agreements with Germany's new government. Its politicians hope that in exchange for some concessions, Hitler may agree to limit German rearmament and even rejoin the League of Nations.
My goodness, how wrong they were about that. Again, I'm seeing from a place of hindsight. I know that they didn't have a full understanding of everything that was gonna happen, but like, my goodness. Little did they know that you give Hitler an inch, he goes a full mile.
But in both Britain and France, there is now increasing alarm about the scale of Hitler's ambition. For Europe, the dilemma is whether Hitler's goals can be accommodated peacefully through diplomacy, or if a more forceful policy based on military deterrence and containment is required.
The latter.
This issue will divide politicians in both France and Britain, between appeasers and hawks. Most, however, are in the middle, seeking to combine elements of deterrence and diplomacy. But any approach depends on coordinated action by Germany's neighbours. So that April, British, French and Italian leaders meet at the Piedmont resort of Stresa. They resolve to act together to oppose any further German violation of the Versailles Treaty. In particular, they will act jointly to preserve Europe's borders.
I don't know why, sometimes I see Benito Mussolini and I see like Vladimir Putin sometimes. I don't know why, is that just me? But like, I don't know, maybe because they're both kind of like, I don't know. But point is, it's so weird seeing Benito Mussolini with like the Western powers, like that they're friendly at all. Like it's weird, right? It would be like if you see like Hitler, like, you know, doing the peace sign with the American president. Like it's just like it would be like such a jarring photo. But I know Italy wasn't right away on the Axis camp, but Yeah, it's still a bit weird, you know? It's kind of like those Joseph Stalin photos, you know, when he's hanging out with, like, the president and, like, um, Churchill. It's just, like, it looks so weird, like, because of because of the, like, the issues that would go on later. So, yeah.
And the independence of Austria, which Hitler is known to have his eye on.
Yeah, I could be completely wrong about this, but I believe that, like, yeah, Hitler does eventually occupy Austria, though I could be wrong in that they wanted to be occupied, or at least they were more willing, than other nations to be. Wait, did Austria want to join Germany in World War II? Yeah, that's I remember that from another video. I forgot, but like it was something like that. Um, yeah, Austria wasn't that big, or at least a lot of Austrians weren't that against joining the Nazis. You know, there's a musical. I think what was it? Isn't The Sound of Music kind of like around this time? And um, I believe that plays a part. I was kind of listening to it because I recently just kind of got into it, like the Sound of Music. I think that's like parts that the film take. You know, now that I think about it, I think last time I mentioned like there was a musical called Cabaret, which is also about the rise of the Nazis. Huh. Weird there are two musicals about about Nazis. Well, at least featuring Nazis or the time around this. Huh. Alright. It's alright, I just had that thought, like, huh. That's interesting.
The Stresa front seems to offer the hope of concerted European action to keep Hitler in check. But just 2 months later, without consulting its new Stresa front partners, Britain agrees its own naval treaty with Germany, the terms of which themselves break the Versailles Treaty.
Oh my gosh.
It seems an extraordinary move by Britain and infuriates France and Italy. But British naval planners are deeply alarmed at the possibility of having to fight the German Navy in European waters, while simultaneously taking on the Japanese in the Pacific. It's a nightmarish scenario, so they seize the chance of a new deal with Germany that limits the Kriegsmarine to 35% of the size of the Royal Navy. France's new Prime Minister, Pierre Laval, regards it as a British betrayal. Italy's leader, Benito Mussolini, concludes his Stresa partners are full of wind and respect only strength. That autumn, he orders Italian forces to launch a long-planned...
Yeah, like I mentioned last video that Benito Mussolini doesn't really get much coverage in World War II, like movies, documentary, podcast, like, at least I think it might just be an American thing. I don't know about like the rest of the world, but I swear this guy usually gets super ignored. I talked about it in the first part. But when people do kind of sort of bring him up, they bring this up, but almost like a backhanded way, like, oh yeah, Benito, yeah, the Italians, you know, fascist Italy conquered Ethiopia, but you know, Ethiopia wasn't technologically advanced, like, you know, wasn't as technologically advanced, so you know, almost like a backhanded, like I not that impressive kind of way. You know, I have to give it to Ethiopia. I don't really know much about Africa or any of the groups in it, but Ethiopia has come up a few times, and I think what's very impressive is that I do know that they managed to survive the scramble of Africa while still maintaining their independence and not becoming another colony. So yeah, Ethiopia was definitely one of the smarter, well, probably the only one, right? They were like one of the only ones to escape that, so yeah, very, very cool little fact about them.
Invasion of Ethiopia. It is one of the last African states not already claimed as a European colony, and Mussolini means to have it for his new Roman Empire. For all his bluster, Mussolini is anxious that other powers will intervene. He is gambling that the League will protest loudly, but essentially do nothing. The League finds Italy to be in breach of Article 12 of the League Covenant, waging an illegal war. And for the first time in history, the international community imposes economic sanctions in an attempt to end the conflict. But neither the USA, Germany, nor Japan are bound by the sanctions, as they are not League members.
Oh my gosh.
And crucially, the sanctions do not include oil. Even some League members ignore them, in part or entirely.
Guys, why do we even have a frickin' League at this point? You know what I mean? At this point, the League of Nations should just disband and just save themselves the embarrassment. Holy crap. I've always known, yeah, it's been taught, yeah, the League of Nations was beyond ineffective, but my goodness, it's kind of sad to watch. I'm like, guys, why do we even have it? Let's just save ourselves the embarrassment and dissolve it already. If no one cares. Everyone's breaking the Treaty of Versailles willy-nilly. Just, you know what I mean? It's like, at this point, why not just dissolve it? Just, like, it's kind of funny, you know what I mean? Oh boy.
Economic impact on Italy is negligible. And the League, and the entire concept of collective security, suffers another damaging blow.
Well, you can't spell League without L, so it kind of makes sense. With all the losses they're taking.
In Germany, Hitler is delighted by the collapse of the Stresa front and the humiliation of the League. In September that year, the Nazi-controlled Reichstag passes a Reich citizenship law and a law for the protection of German blood and honor. These measures give legal force to Nazi pseudoscience about race. The main target is Germany's Jews, vilified as a racial menace, now stripped of their citizenship and political rights.
Yeah, reading about the first-hand accounts of how the Jewish citizens were treated is really heartbreaking, and they even had, like, you know, some of them had to wear the yellow badge, I think the yellow star badge, live in ghettos, like, I saw that a few times, with like, I remember reading a book, called Night by Eli. I may have mentioned this last video, I forgot, it's been, like, a month, but, it's been, like, that, but yeah, it's really sad. And you know, something else is like some of you hear stuff like the Hitler Youth, or what's it called, the Nazi Youth, but stuff like that, like there's this weird fixation on the Aryan features, like what was it, blonde hair, blue eyes, stuff like that. This weird like eugenics stuff. I think they had like these like eugenics camps where they would try to like have like people who had the you know, in Hitler's and the Nazis mind, the ideal Aryan traits, and then they would have to, you know, basically, you know, do it, and then in hopes of creating just the in his mind, the perfect Aryan group. Like, it's weird, man. Like, the more I look into the Nazis, I'm like, you guys are weirdos. Like, so, like, I don't know. Like, stuff like that, just, my goodness.
Marriage and sexual relations between pure Aryan Germans and Jews is also forbidden. 1935 is a year that sees Hitler's Nazi government grow in confidence, with a series of steps that trigger alarm bells across Europe, but no concerted response.
Yeah, everyone can see the red flags, just no one's gonna, like, make a firm response until Hitler's pretty much strong enough to straight up start the war, so, yeah. Oh boy, the amount of he got away with before the war kicked off is actually kind of astounding.
Hitler, a masterful opportunist, decides it's time to push even further.
Italy finally has its empire, Benito Mussolini.
As Italy, Japan, and Germany take steps towards building their new empires, the biggest of all, the British Empire, faces a mounting struggle to maintain order. Britain rules Palestine as a League mandate, held in trust, with the supposed aim of preparing the territory for independence. In reality, it is treated much like a British colony. Here, in April, a general strike by Arabs marks the beginning of a 3-year revolt against British rule. Arabs clash with British soldiers and police, and the growing number of Jewish settlers. The violence leaves thousands dead, injured, or in jail. In Egypt, the British agree to end 5 decades of colonial occupation. An exception is made for the Suez Canal, considered a vital artery of the empire.
Yeah, we covered the Suez Canal issue from Epic History, so you can feel free to see that. I already did a reaction to that whole issue,
which the British will continue to garrison. In India, the British face pressure from the Congress Party, led by Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, to grant full independence. The British have no intention of doing so and face ongoing protests and opposition, with up to 80,000 political prisoners in jail. With so many imperial issues to deal with, Britain wishes to avoid a conflict in Europe at almost any cost. But there is a growing sense in Britain that France is an unreliable partner. The feeling is entirely mutual, and France is taking steps to bolster its own security. After 6 years of construction, the Maginot Line becomes operational. This state-of-the-art chain of fortifications is between 12 and 16 miles in depth, with 142 forts, around 5,000 blockhouses, and in some sections is served by an underground railway. In theory, France's eastern border is now impregnable to any direct German attack. But the line doesn't.
Again, it's kind of like I'm like chuckling a bit because obviously, you know, hindsight is 2020, of course, but like kind of just seeing stuff like that, like some of the stuff, like how some people underestimate Hitler, make false assumptions about him, like that one German official in Japan, and he was like, oh man, the Japanese are committing so many atrocities, Hitler no doubt will want to put a stop to this, like stuff like that. And then here it's like, oh man, we're impenetrable now. It's like, it almost makes me laugh because I know what's about to happen, and then we're like, yeah, no, you're not. I don't think you know Hitler all that well. Like, obviously I know these people didn't have the hindsight at their side, so it's forgivable, but like, my goodness. Yeah, little did France know, they indeed were not impenetrable.
Not extend to the Ardennes frontier.
Yeah, the Ardennes, they thought that was like naturally impervious, like it would serve as a natural barrier that no one could make it through, but then Hitler, through the use of blitzkrieg, punched his way through, so yeah.
A forested region thought to be unsuited to modern warfare. And the emphasis on fortifications and a defensive mindset has its critics. Among them, a young staff officer, Lieutenant Colonel Charles de Gaulle, who argues the vast sums involved would be better spent on mechanization of the French army. Concerns about Germany's resurgent military power are shared in Moscow, where Joseph Stalin has embarked on a second 5-year plan aimed at continuing the rapid expansion of the Soviet economy. great sacrifices are demanded of the Soviet people in the state's bid to match the industrial and military might of its European rivals. Rewards are offered to those who can imitate heroes like Alexei Stakhanov, credited the previous year with mining 102 tons of coal in 6 hours.
Holy crap.
Soviet production of modern weaponry, including tanks and aircraft, continues to rise, given fresh urgency by the deteriorating international order. But Stalin does not know from where to expect a blow. From the capitalist West, Nazi Germany, or imperialist Japan, and is therefore suspicious of all. But France is now prepared to reach out across the ideological divide to renew the old Franco-Russian alliance. In February, in Paris, France ratifies a treaty of mutual assistance aimed at deterring a German attack on either by threatening Hitler with a two-front war. In truth, the treaty is toothless. No clause actually establishes military collaboration between France and the Soviets. Yet Hitler quickly claims it is a plan to encircle Germany. He is emboldened by the weak international response to Italy's invasion of Ethiopia, and now, citing the Franco-Soviet treaty as provocation, he orders German troops to cross the River Rhine and remilitarize the Rhineland. Though part of Germany, the Versailles Treaty and the Locarno Pact stipulated that this region was to remain demilitarized, free of German troops and fortifications, as a security guarantee for France. Hitler's fresh breach of both treaties creates another international crisis. But it soon emerges that neither Britain nor France are willing to risk another war with Germany over the Rhineland. Their armed forces are unprepared. The public mood in both countries is firmly anti-war.
You know, that it's very sympathetic, I think, the mindset that the UK and France have. You know, after surviving the First World War, they're like, we don't want to create like another one. And I know that they're trying to exhaust in their eyes, peaceful solutions. I think that's very sympathetic. You know, obviously when we speak in hindsight, like, ill-advised, should have been ultimately, and when you talk about modern day appeasement, it's definitely met with a lot more ridicule at the UK's and France's responses to Hitler's clear signs of aggression. But looking at their perspective at the moment, I understand exactly where they're coming from in terms of the idea of, we really want to avoid another world war, maybe we'll try. I can get where they're coming from with that. But again, hindsight is 2020, and ultimately proves to be really bad. And they are posturing in some sense, like with France, with this whole, they created that little league in the beginning, the UK, France, Italy. Now here France is like, hey, Russia, we can team up. Like, they are posturing in a sense to Hitler, but not actually like taking a firm stance. Kind of, it's half-hearted, to put it nicely. And again, Hitler, I mentioned earlier, it's that saying, you give someone an inch and they'll go a mile. And that's essentially what Hitler did. Like, Hitler kept being met with such weak response that it's like, wow, like, he's only more emboldened to keep going. It's like, wow, no one has the balls to actually put me, to stop me, and it is insane with how much he got away with before the war kicked off proper. Between the territories he rearmored, the remilitarization, the straight up invasions that are not going to be mentioned. It is amazing how much he got away before, France and the UK declared war, and by then Hitler was already pretty strong and confident to go to that war. Um, yeah, it is a, yeah.
Many regard Hitler's move as no more than the Germans walking into their own backyard, as a British politician puts it. It later emerges that German generals, and Hitler himself, were deeply worried that the French army would intervene. The German army remains weak. Their troops would have had to retreat. But Hitler has gambled and won. And while his popularity in
And just like that, more emboldened to keep going because, again, who's gonna stop him at this point, right?
Germany soars, France and Britain are made to look weak and unreliable once more. Meanwhile, in Africa, the Italian conquest of Ethiopia has been unexpectedly hard-going, given the Italians' massive advantage in military hardware and liberal use of mustard gas. Finally, in March, they win a decisive victory at Machu. Ethiopian military resistance collapses, and 5 weeks later, Italian troops occupy the capital, Addis Ababa. The King of Italy, Victor Emmanuel III, is proclaimed Emperor of Ethiopia. Italy's new conquest is united with existing colonies to form Italian East Africa. Ethiopia's former ruler, Emperor Haile Selassie, escapes into exile. In May, he travels to Geneva to address the League of Nations, where he passionately denounces the Italian invasion and use of chemical weapons. God and history will remember your judgment, he warns. The League not only fails to condemn Italy's actions, within 2 months, it has removed all sanctions.
Typical League L. Oh boy. Yeah, I've always heard about the ineffectiveness of the League of Nations, but it's still so sobering to see it again and be like, holy crap, guys. You know. The extent of the military development of our resources cannot be too large, nor its pace too swift.
In Japan, the government remains under threat from extreme nationalists who wish to eliminate moderates and force Japan onto a more aggressive, militaristic path. In the February 26th incident, army officers from this faction launch another coup. Several leading politicians are killed. But the attempt to seize control of government fails. The ringleaders are executed. Meanwhile, Japan's Kwantung Army seeks to extend its control of northern China. For the time being, a truce with Chiang Kai-shek's government prohibits further southern advances beyond the Great Wall. So instead, the Japanese push west into Inner Mongolia. They establish another puppet government in Mengjiang, though an attempt to use proxy forces to conquer Suyen province is defeated by the Chinese army. Within China, there is growing anger at Chiang Kai-shek's failure to take on the Japanese. Now, encouraged by victory in Suyen, others decide to act. When Chiang travels to Xi'an to visit his local commander, General Zhang, the president finds himself placed under house arrest. Zhang then forces him to make a truce with the communists. so both factions can unite against Japan. This Second United Front, as it is known, will prove an uneasy alliance, but it convinces Chiang Kai-shek to stand up to future Japanese demands. In Europe, the economic stress of the 1930s continues to drive political polarization and division. In France, a left-wing Popular Front coalition wins the elections, and the socialist Léon Blum becomes Prime Minister. Some right-wing opponents loathe him so much they adopt the slogan, "Rather Hitler than Blum."
Oh, that sucks. Oh, dude, if someone said that about me, I would retire. I would resign and be like, yeah, I'm done. That sucks. And I know these people they don't know the full extent of the monster Hitler is when they said that, but like, it would even be worse with hindsight if that was like associated with my lasting legacy in history. I'd be like, I give up. I should have never went into politics. Oh, man.
But it is in Spain that...
Oh yeah, Spain. If I'm remembering correctly, Spain was like neutral during World War II. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they were. So yeah, what the heck was going on over there?
Political polarization will explode into open violence. Here, a left-wing Popular Front coalition is also elected into power. Spanish nationalists despise this new government, and in July, army officers launch a coup to overthrow it. They quickly seize control of Morocco, the Canary Islands, and Seville. But after some bloody fighting, the Republican government retains control of most major cities. With weapons distributed to civilians on both sides, the stage is set for a brutal civil war that will rage for 3 years. General Francisco Franco emerges as leader of the rebel nationalist forces and declares himself Spain's new head of state in October. Other nations publicly agree not to intervene in Spain's civil war, but the Soviet Union is soon supplying the Republican side with weapons and advisors. Fascist Italy sends troops, black-shirt militia, and aircraft to support Franco's rebels. Hitler sends air units to assist Franco, known as the Condor Legion. This support will be a contributory factor.
Yeah, very proxy war-esque, eh? With each of these other powerful nations just backing up a certain side and hoping that they win.
The war gradually swings in Franco's favor. In August, the world turns its attention to the 1936 Summer Olympics, hosted that year in Berlin. Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels turns the games into a propaganda showcase for Hitler's new Reich. Anti-Semitism is toned down as foreign guests are dazzled by displays of German modernity, unity and strength. Dignitaries are lavishly entertained by Nazi leaders, such as Reichstag President Hermann Göring. Many visitors are impressed. Hitler appears to have transformed Germany, to have restored its self-respect, revived the economy, ended the political chaos, and dealt with the communists. Hitler continues to profess his desire for peace.
See what I mean? Like, some of this stuff, like, with hindsight, it just becomes funny when you hear it. Like, sure you do. But, you know, if there's one thing I have to give to the Nazis, their propaganda was incredibly effective. I think one of the best propaganda machines in history. Maybe second only to the UK during the Napoleonic Wars, because holy crap, were the UK on one during those wars. Um, People still believe that like Napoleon's like a freaking dwarf, you know, to this day, because that's how effective the UK propaganda was. But yeah, again, the Nazis, they had an aesthetic, dude. Like when you think of Nazis, it conjures up a very vivid image, like the brown, the gray suits, the armbands, the striking red, black and white, the formations, the films. They literally have a pose with the hand. I'm not gonna replicate it, but the Nazi salute. Like they had a full on aesthetic. They were like, we have a look and we're going to do it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what I'm trying to do with my channel. Like, I kind of have like I mean, not like the Nazis, but like what I mean by a look. Like, look, I always wear this shirt now with my logo, and I even have this purple head top, diadem tie. Um, look, Nazi, Nazi imagery. Like, there's just something to it. That the rallies, the the flags, the banners, like they straight up just the logo. Like you guys get what I'm going right, Gad, right? Wait, bro. Just like you guys get what I mean? Like they have a full on like aesthetic, and it's kind of amazing that they committed to it, because like like if it hadn't been real, it's almost like the Nazi aesthetic is very like comic booky, right? Like a comic book evil organization. Like I don't know. It's like it's just weird that they just like went with this whole style, this look, this like image. I know that it's all for the sake of propaganda, and it's meant to do that. It's just like it's very interesting, like the Nazi look. It's very in some way kind of like I guess like well, it's meant to be stylish, like stylish, flamboyant in some sense. Well, maybe not flamboyant, but I guess stylish. I don't know. It's. I don't think I'm getting my words right, but it's definitely a unique, striking look that they went all in with.
In Britain, particularly, some leading figures continue to wonder if the Nazis are not such a bad thing.
Oh my gosh.
They include...
Oh yes, King Edward. I remember. He's the king who abdicated. And like he was like in talks with Hitler. Aren't there photos of him and Hitler, and even that the two met, and that he was sort of sympathetic, and he could have ended up like, wouldn't it have been wild if the UK and like Hitler had like been like at cool with each other? That would have been crazy. Yeah, I remember him. He also fell in love with, I believe, an American woman and abdicated. That was a huge cause of issues there. Yeah, so I do know about this guy.
Edward VIII. And yet, that very month, Hitler gives secret orders to initiate a 4-year plan. In reality, Hitler foresees not peace, but an inescapable existential war between Nazi Germany and what he calls Judeo-Bolshevism, manifested in the Soviet Union. Germany must march east, crush the Soviets, and seize living space. Otherwise, Hitler believes the German people will themselves be annihilated by their racial enemies. Under Hermann Goering's
everything is race with this dude. It's like weird to me. Like everything has to be like about race. But yeah, it is really interesting knowing that eventually, the Soviets and the Nazis did at least make like a little pact there for a minute, though I think both sides knew they were eventually always going to have a showdown. It's just Hitler was the first to backstab, you know.
Provision. The 4-year plan will prepare Germany for this conflict. The initial focus will be on domestic production of resources essential for war, such as coal, iron ore, chemicals, textiles, and aluminium. This will free Germany from the threat of blockade and provide the industrial base for large-scale rearmament. All other considerations are now subordinate to this goal. That autumn, there is a diplomatic coup for Hitler. Just a year before, Italy had been aligned with Britain and France in the Stresa front, intended to contain Germany. But Mussolini's invasion of Ethiopia split the front for good. On the 1st of November, Mussolini announces a new alliance with Germany. He calls it the Rome-Berlin Axis. The two nations will cooperate to combat communism, to aid Franco's nationalists in Spain, and support each other's colonial ambitions. In December 1936, King Edward VIII announces his abdication. It follows months of rumor and scandal over his intention to marry an American divorcee. Many of his former subjects breathe a sigh of relief, particularly those who knew of his enthusiasm for Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, boy, did the UK dodge a bullet with that guy, right? Like, I'm not sure how much power the UK monarch even has at this point. At that point, I mean, even nowadays, like, I've heard mixed results from people. I'm like, does the monarchy actually have power? And some people are like, of course they do. And other people are like, no, they're just figureheads. So I'm not entirely sure of what they can or cannot do, even at this time. The monarch, but like, still, I imagine it would not be a great look for the nation if the monarch was openly like trying to be allies with Hitler. So either way, they dodged a bullet with that guy. It's his brother, right, King George, who had a speech impediment. There's a movie about him I've heard, like the King's Speech. There's also a TV series called The Crown, which I think covers the royal family. I'm planning on maybe in the future watching those as historical movies and show reactions. But I am aware of them, so yeah.
In the 1930s, opinion polls are still in their infancy. But a survey of US public opinion that year finds 95% of Americans oppose involvement in any future overseas war. New neutrality laws ban the sale of US weapons to any warring nation. The spirit of isolation is largely a reaction to World War I, a conflict of immense horror.
Yeah, us here in the United States love in every world war to practice neutrality while actually supporting a side, and then later on deciding screw the neutrality and then joining it. It's funny that the America kind of did that same thing twice.
Of which the chief beneficiaries seem to have been the empires of Britain and France. In hindsight, many Americans believe they should never have got involved. It means that, much like Britain and France, this great power will also be a mere spectator. As abroad, new threats gather confidence and power. The 1930s.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing. Like, you often hear about, like, some Americans having divided opinions in hindsight, like with the Cold War, right? Like, about the whole America's very aggressive policy of trying to stamp out communism, leading to wars such as, like, Vietnam and whatnot. And, you know, I've heard some opinions being like, America probably shouldn't have gotten involved in a lot of areas, and some I might agree, but the world wars are interesting because I feel like the world wars are kind of what propelled this nation that I live in kind of into like a superpower. Like America came out of both world wars like much more prominent in the world stage than before. So I'm trying to struggle at the idea of America not being involved with the world wars and how our standing would have been, and if we would have, well, maybe we could have still been a superpower just by resources, but like as prominent, I'm not sure. But hmm, yeah, that's a very interesting one.
saw the rise of powerful modern dictators in Italy, Germany, the Soviet Union, and nationalist China.
Again, the 20th century is so crazy because think of all the contemporaries that happened in this one lifetime. You have Hitler, you have Stalin, you have Mao Zedong, you have Pol Pot. Like the amount of infamous dictators that were all in the same lifetime, all lived at the same time, is kind of crazy when you think about it. In like I don't know, just like so weird to me because these are all like some like the most infamous names. Like they were contemporaries. Like sometimes some of them ruling at the exact same time. So I don't know. That's just crazy. What the 20th century was kind of unhinged. The more you kind of think about it. Oh boy.
They harnessed mass media for propaganda and indoctrination, empowered secret police forces, and disappeared their political enemies. And ever since, there have been those who seek to emulate their misdeeds, with varying levels of competence and success. If you want to find out about some really bizarre and brutal despots, Real Life Law's new series, Mad Kings, is...
Okay, so that was an advertisement to Mad Kings. Yeah, the amount of dictators and despots that rose in the 20th century, super crazy. And, yeah, overall, just... Oh, and yeah, like the whole North Korean totalitarian government started too in the 20th. Holy crap! Like what? Like the 20th century and its like dictators. Just something about that time was just like the age of dictators. You know. I mean, there still are dictatorships nowadays, but you know what I mean, right? Just like some of the most prominent ones all happened like last century. That's crazy to me. So overall, yeah, this was a really cool second part, and I'm looking forward to the next time when we cover 1937. So I will see you guys then. Bye, everyone.